Uh-huh. Okay.
So I don't really know much about this topic. Um, the topic again is what
No, go ahead.
what teachers have students that will be taking English tests coming up soon, and what English tests do you prefer them to take? And these are usually for international certification of English. And I was questioning Chi earlier on in the week, what are the best tests that suit the needs of your students? Those are the ones that the House of Wisdom should be focusing on and should have their students prepare for. I don't think all English tests are equal, but I defer to everyone here because I have almost no experience with international tests of English.
Yeah, you don't have to take the test.
Right.
You don't have to take the test, so obviously you don't know about that much.
I've had friends take tests, but
Yeah.
they've all taken the TOEFL test, and there are other tests out there that are more popular, I think.
uh, Actually, in the past, I myself took the TOEFL test.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the past, when someone want to go to the America, so they should take the TOEFL test. But if they want to go to UK or it seems Australia also, I'm not sure about that. But if going to UK, should take IELTS test.
Oh, right.
Test. Yeah.
IELTS.
Yeah. Yeah, IELTS test. But recently, I don't know, but IELTS become like more popular. Yeah, than the TOEFL test.
Okay.
So even it seems to me that even to go to the US, it seems IELTS test also is accepted. I'm not sure, but
okay, yeah, that would be a good question to find the answer to. I don't know. Can anyone find out? Is there an easy way to find out, or do you have to go school by school to find out which English certification they will accept? The IELTS test is based in the UK. It uses UK spelling. It does not use American spelling. Even on the American section, if you say you want to look at US English, it still uses UK spelling. I looked at it myself this week. So I don't think that's a big problem at all, though, because what if you know how to spell things with UK English? Once you switch over to American English, it's 100 times easier.
Yes, so as I may know, we have IELTS test and TOEFL test. It's like the international test. It's like the standard for everyone. And then we have it also considered as proficiency test. But in Vietnam, for high school or secondary school, usually we use different kind of tests like placement test or summative test. But actually nowadays, a lot of schools accept IELTS test for everyone to accept for scholarship or they can go to the school for gifted students when they have an IELTS score.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah,
and also it seems to me it seems that some universities accept students based on the IELTS test. IELTS test. Yeah. So that is really like people consider that a really the privilege for people to have a good English, because often the entrance to university for some university is very competitive, and so students who have a good result on the IELTS test have a kind of advantage. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very
So
good to
here,
know.
so you guys are teachers here. Do you kind of train students to take the IELTS test or not yet?
Or maybe,
Is there anyone
we ask Mr. Ting or Miss Han because they are teaching high school students.
Pardon?
Yeah, hello everybody. In at upper secondary school, if people ask me have SCE with level C. With level C. I used to SCE. I used to participate in at the CE test of Cambridge University. Yeah, I used to pass. I used to pass it with the level B2 of Cambridge University. SCE is SCE exam of international test. Okay, and in advance, we have to prepare for topic test with full of skill and language focus. Okay, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
However, I used to pass SCE test with the international international test with B2 level. However, at the upper secondary school, people ask us to pass level C1. Okay.
Okay, so with the
Yeah.
with the IELTS test, there are different levels of proficiency. And I think that's an advantage over the TOEFL test. The TOEFL test, you have to hit a minimum. You have to hit a minimum score to succeed, and then after that, there's no real distinction. But I think on IELTS there are different levels, right? And so B1, C1, whatever, A1, I think. And as Chi pointed out, or I think Chi pointed out, the Vietnamese universities give credence, or they acknowledge the IELTS score in English, and they don't seem to have any similar acknowledgement for the TOEFL test, which is TOEFL. Okay. Thank you, Miss Hung. Thank you. Anyone else have any experience with the tests, with testing English with an international version of a test? There's there's a YouTube channel and a website. I think it's an Australian man, and he gives tutorials on how to pass the IELTS tests. And he, on his
Hi, sir.
oh, go ahead.
Can I share my experience?
Sorry.
I want to share with you my experience about took the IELTS test.
Yeah. Okay.
So actually,
Does your
I
camera
took the
work,
IELTS test.
Tron? Does your camera work? We don't see you. We hear you.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Okay. Hi.
So my name is Hat, and for easy you can call me Helen as well for the English name.
Okay.
So actually, I took the IELTS test twice already. One in 2017 when I have to got the IELTS test for studying abroad, and at that time I only get my 5 point, but I only have like 2 or 3 months to get to know about the IELTS format in how to prepare for the test as well. So actually, at that time, I don't have any techniques to do the test, but I have a little bit like knowledge about how to speak fluency in speaking, and I know some sentences to write in the writing test, and then I just try to take the test in January in 2017, and then I got study abroad in Canada, and I took another test again in Vietnam in 2020 for the IELTS General, and I think there are 2 different type of tests. So if you want to study abroad, you have to take the academic one, and if you want to apply for a job or get a PR for some country, you will have to take the general one. And that's why I take another IELTS test for general one in 2020, and now I get 6 points, and I'm still continuing to review and retake again in October or November when COVID released. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's really valuable, Helen. So
Thank you.
the things that I'd like to point out is what Helen said is that there are 2 different IELTS tests. One is academic, that students would use for certification to meet university requirements, and another one is
Yeah.
and another one is
I mean, they have 2 models, right? For
Okay.
one for academic and one for general. And one for academic, they require for when you want to study abroad. And of course, if you want to attend in another university in Vietnam, you still have to have the IELTS at least 6 points to accept to the entrance. Or if not, we have at least 6 points, so you will graduate from your university, like the basic requirement to graduate from your university later. Yeah.
Okay, so the score on the test is linked to university study. So
Yes, I mean, like
that's how you get
some
points.
university they want to use for entrance, they want you to have to get at least 6 points.
Wow.
And when you graduate, they want you to have like at least 6 points to make all the requirement to graduate later. Yeah.
How difficult is it to get 1 point?
Sorry, you mean to get the points
just 1
for
point?
the IELTS?
If you need 6 points to graduate, how difficult is it to get 1 point?
No, I mean like the highest score for IELTS is 9 point, right? So for get 6 point, you need to, I mean like to start study English as soon as possible, and you need to start to know about the IELTS test as well, and you can review for it until the one you get graduate from your high school, so you have like enough knowledge, so you can take the IELTS test later and then apply for your college or university. I mean, like you don't have to wait until your college or university asks you to submit the IELTS score. I mean, at that time it's late already. You need to start when you enter for high school, and then you have to review it until you graduate from your high school.
Okay.
So we have basic knowledge, and then after you graduate, you just need to take it and then just submit it to your college. Not after your college require you, and then you start to review at that time. It's too late already.
Okay.
And you may missing some school that you want to apply for, or the scholarship, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So students should start as soon as they enter high school. They should start studying for the IELTS test, and they should write it before they graduate. Yeah.
Sorry.
And they should take the IELTS test before they graduate high school. They should do that.
Yeah.
So that they're eligible for university scholarships or academic scholarships. Or
it depends on the university you apply for. I mean, like some university they require 6 point, but some they require 6.5, something like that. So you need to prepare for that. And right now, when you graduate, if you have like at least like 5 points, you already passed the English test, and you no need to take the English test at high school at all. Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Education, environment, everything, it's really hard. But if you spend time to read everything related to, manage the wide range of the topic. So that is a good preparation before you taking the test. Because, when I study at RMIT, they didn't teach me what is the IELTS. They just teach me the English, anything. But after that, I just spent 1 minute to know what is IELTS. And, I just take the first time to get the 6.5.
Okay.
Even though before I didn't focus on IELTS, just focus on English, just only English, and read everything, many topics. Yeah, so after that, I can use English well. So, you can take the IELTS, TOEFL, or SAT, or PT. Yeah, and depend on your target to take the preparation.
Okay.
And I take another international English that last year. That's PT. Pearson. That is the Pearson test of English. That's now is valid like IELTS, but it's just accepted in some countries. And but now students can take the PT test instead of IELTS for apply for study in overseas. But they quite different kind of tests. But you have a good English background, you can take any test. Just like spend 1 or 2 months, depend on your target to focus on that.
Okay. I should try writing one of these tests myself just to see what it's like.
Yeah,
so you mean PTA test?
Yeah, I took it last year.
So is they are similar with IELTS test, the format?
No, absolutely different. And PT tests are quite you take the test in very noisy environment, because you have 6 or 12 students in one room, and everyone talk at the same time for the first part. So that is challenging. If you're nervous, if you have knowledge, if you really good English, but you always you have nervous or anxiety, it is hard to pass the PT test.
How strange.
Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah.
It's very strange. Okay. All right. So, according to what Thuy just said, students might only need about 2 months to prepare for a specific test if their English is good. And I suppose that means preparation on the topics that they want you to write about or talk about. And they're like environment and what else? You know, things that are supposed to be in the culture, in the concern or the orbit of concern for students. And I wonder, it seems to me that is there one person testing and one person taking the test, so it's a teacher-student, like 1-to-1 ratio when you take the test? Or do you take the test just with one teacher and a bunch of different students in the room? How does that work?
You mean IELTS or something?
Either one. I don't know.
PT. No, you always work by yourself. Don't have teacher in the room, just administration. They sit outside to.
So is there no verbal component to the PTE? Like, don't you have to speak English out loud?
Yeah, part one is read aloud. They have many, not because actually to explain in PT because they have 4 skills, but they arrange in like and even the mark that because you take the reading mark, but that is believer mark for speaking or writing. Yeah, that's quite different to IELTS. Like the first part is read aloud. We have 5 paragraphs, short paragraphs, and you read aloud, and everyone in that room read at the same time. And so you just focus on your reading, ignore others.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Yeah, and after that you move to another one. Maybe we have I forgot it because I took it last year. But it's not the short part, like read aloud, repeat sentence. It's really hard. Repeat sentence like you hear a long or short or long sentence and you repeat that. And the score depends on how many words you repeat correctly on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a memory test.
Yeah, that's really hard. I think it's harder than IELTS, but now students they refer PT to IELTS because they have the question bank. They have the English center. They collect the question bank, and when you get in the room, you take the test. Maybe you have some questions. You practice at home.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's that is to make the student refer to PT to IELTS.
Yeah. So
you practice a lot at home.
A question bank actually allows students to prepare strategies for the actual test.
But if you don't have question bank, PT is really hard.
Yeah. Everyone who can use a question bank does use a question bank, even PhD students. So.
Yeah. Practice at home a lot.
Yeah.
But Thuy, I think for IELTS, people also have a test bank, right?
But when you take a test, you are not find any same questions. It's totally new.
Actually, IELTS is more like you adapt using your skill you learn to adapt to the test, and not really like remembering the question by means because there's a lot of questions, like a lot of topic they can cover. You can't just learn by heart.
IELTS is a long time, so now have the big questions bank. So you never get the questions you do.
Like for me, like when I take the test, the writing test, I practice a lot of the topic for the writing test in IELTS, and then when I go to the test, and they give me like something I never met before, it's kind of surprising.
Yeah, that's one.
So IELTS, you always have things like that.
But actually, if someone they good at IELTS, I think it's better than PTA because you have really good English.
No, but as I know, we have a lot of pages, and a lot of teachers can give us a lot of tips to study IELTS, to take the IELTS test easier, like some websites or some YouTube channels. They give us a lot of tips. Yes.
Yes. So like I said, it's usually like using the data tips or like the skill to apply into the test, because as I said, you can't really learn by heart any of that. Like you can remember the test, you practice at home, and then hopefully like you come there and you meet the same question, you can't really do that. This is not like possible. It's not possible at all.
Yeah, but I understand though, but because if you have practice tests, then as Fan was saying, you learn the structure of the test. Once you become familiar with the structure of the test, even though the questions are different, you still have 3 parts for this area, and you still have 2 parts for another area, and you know that you're going to get a question on the environment. You know you're going to get a question on language and things like that. So that's not hard. It's not hard for teachers to develop a strategy to write a test.
Actually, it's kind of a bit different. For example, like in IELTS, there's like different type of question. For example, you have like the you matching the for example, in reading, actually reading they have like a few paragraphs a few paragraphs in a whole reading test. So they will like ask them to match the headline of they give they give you some headlines, and you match the headline to the paragraph. There's that kind of question, and there's just like a true-false question. So basically, like each type of question they ask, there's some strategy for you to prepare. So that's the type of.
Okay, but it's still the same structure. Like
the type, So questions type, it's the same structure.
Yeah, so that I mean, as teachers, we're concerned about the content, but we're also really concerned about the form or the structure. So if the content changes, the particular questions, if they change every year or 3 times a year, as long as the structure or the form stays the same, we can still teach it the same way. We can say, in this area of competence for reading, you're going to have 4 different types of exercises to do. And one of them will be matching a headline to a paragraph. Another one will be reading comprehension to give the theme of the paragraph. What is the theme sentence? Which is exactly the same as matching a headline to a paragraph. It's what is the thesis statement? A lot of people just make that very simple and say, what is the headline for this paragraph? But it's the same idea. And so I think that's why the YouTube channels and just this one person that I focused on, learning the IELTS with Rob, I think it's really easy for them to help out people because they understand the structure of the test, and that's what they're using to teach the people who watch their channel or go onto their website and take a practice test. You can actually take a practice IELTS. I'm going to do that this week, by the way. So for IELTS, I guess, Fan, you wrote this down? Thank you. Examiners use assessment criteria to award a band score for each of the 4 areas: fluency and coherence, lexical resourcefulness, grammatical range and accuracy and pronunciation. So that's the structure that can be taught. And as long as we have different examples, if we know that the same examples aren't going to show up all the time, all we do is we just practice many, many, many examples. That's all. So that's good. Thank you. Does that make sense, Wine? Does that make sense? Turn on your microphone. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. So, Lily, you started to say something about the comparison of PTE versus IELTS. Do you know anyone who's done both? I know Twee said she's done both, but do you know anyone, Lily, who's done both?
Yes, no, actually, I'm familiar with IELTS test, but I hear the PTE test before, but I don't see its format because the IELTS test is more familiar and it's more popular, I think so. And you know, for Vietnamese students that are even Vietnamese teachers, we have CEFR framework. Like I don't know the words, and also based on IELTS format or like the Cambridge format test. And then we also have C1 level, and for this level, it's like it's some criteria to score for scoring. Is familiar with IELTS test, and I took the CFR test before, and 2 times. You know, for the first time I take it on paper, and for speaking test the teacher can ask me directly, so it is easier. But for the second time, I take it online, you know, via computer. So then for speaking test, I have to it's like they have the structure, the program, and then they deliver the question for me, and they have the timing on the screen, and then I answer. But for the second time, you know, it's for when teacher asks, teacher can also we have the time limitation, but the teacher can can accept some time when we learn the time. But for when we take it with the computer, so it's so difficult to manage the time actually.
Okay, so having an in-person test is more familiar because you're in the room with the teacher, and
yes,
it's more difficult to manage time when everything is online. That's a good point.
Yes, that's right.
That's a good point. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to look at what I can find about the PTE online. Does anybody else know anything about it? It seems to me that if there are new English tests coming around and becoming more popular, it makes sense to at least cover them with your class a couple of times, because you never know when institutions will change what they accept for English qualifications. One year they may want IELTS, and then the next year they switch to PTE, and they don't tell everybody. They just switch. So
yes.
Okay, so whose screen is this?
Yeah, there is the PTE structure. I mean, it's because Lily have a question. Is the same or different? Actually, it's totally different. Because even they like the speaking, reading, and listening and writing. But there is mixed writing, speaking and writing skill here. The first part we take is read aloud, and after repeat sentence, like we hear the sentence and we repeat that, and describe image. So they give you a picture, and you take 30 seconds to describe that image. Yeah. And we have maybe the 5 or 6 pictures. And read our lecture. So they give you audio from the lecture, and after that you summarize that lecture. Is it hard? Yeah. And summarize answer short question is the last part of speaking that you like check your knowledge. I mean, they give the questions and you answer what is the questions like. So how many days you have in the leap year? Something like that, 1 day or something like that. The knowledge is really wide. And move to the writing, summarize written text. You have the one paragraph, and after that you summarize in one sentence. Like you make a heading, you think about the heading of that paragraph, but that is hard. So the some center, English center, the PT Central, they give the tips, like we write a paragraph, but without a comma or full stop. Because that is the AI test. I mean the artificial intelligence test. So the machine is a mark on your score, not people. So if no full stop and comma, so the robot, they think that it's just one sentence. And we have essays like IELTS, but easier. We have a template. Yeah, and move to the reading. We have that's the mode. It's I think easier than IELTS. And the listening part, is similar. Some is similar. The reading like multiple choice, fill in blanks, highlight, correct, summary. Like you hear the audio, they have some maybe to read summary, and you choose the best one. And multiple choice is similar, and this is the write from dictation is hard. You hear a sentence like repeat sentence, but you write out. It's spelling, you lose point. And the difference from IELTS and PT is that if you get the mark from speaking, but that is delivered for the reading or listening part 2, different IELTS. If you take the speaking test, you just got the speaking score. But if you repeat sentence, you can get point for listening, because depend on how you hear from that. So you get the score for speaking and listening too. And they deliver really high points. So this is really important part in PT test and dictation too. They organize. So what is your target? And so they arrange what is the part important for each student. If you want a lower target, you just like focus on repeat sentence or from dictation. But you want to get 8.0, you need to learn all this part. Yeah, something like that. And they show you what is important and what is less important. Yeah, so that is really good now for students. And even in the IELTS for I show IELTS for.
I can tell there's already different parts, listening and speaking. Okay.
Yeah, you see. Okay, now, but if you want to get the 6.5 IELTS, it's really hard. But you can easy to get the 85 or 63 in PT. Okay. Much easier. Yeah, that's why. But in this level, is it hard? Yeah. Okay. But 6.5 is, if you want to get 6.5 IELTS, it's really hard for you.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
There's only 1.5 difference between competent and very good in IELTS. And there's 26 points difference between very good and competent in the PTE.
Yeah, because now PT accept in the Australia or in Canada for study. So if students want to go study there, I recommend they take the PTE rather than IELTS because they easy to take this score.
Okay, thank you. That's interesting. I suppose there's a justification for it. There always is. Especially when tests base themselves on like something called the Cambridge model. I don't know what they mean by the Cambridge model, but I assume that Cambridge University is involved in having English taught to non-English speakers so that they can become fluent and competent speakers. I mean, there's a British government thing for English that I looked at a few years ago, and it's very comprehensive. They really want to get as many English speakers in the world as possible using British English. There's a lot of work involved in making up these tests that are based on things like an established model like the Cambridge model, so they have all their own experts. But just looking at the difference between what's competent and what's very good, there's not a lot of wiggle room for the IELTS. And I don't know how hard it is to get a 6.5 compared to just getting a 6. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean you missed one question, or does that mean you missed 5 questions? I don't know. But thank you, Tweed. This is very helpful.
Yeah, okay, you're welcome. And even...
Go ahead.
Okay, come back to IELTS. Because that is really useful for students here. So like Lily said, depend on, that is the criteria for IELTS. So that is because student, so what is your package? And just depend on that, read carefully, because they arrange the criteria for the very specific band score here, 5, 6, 7, 8. So read carefully here and just focus on that. Like if you want to get 6, you just like how they mark on fluency and coherence, lexical resources, and what are they, and just focus on that. Don't because you know where you are, and just make a good repair well, and just focus on read carefully and just based on here. Yeah, that's my experience. Don't because someone is regularly they don't know how their knowledge now enough or not enough to take the test, but just based on here to like grammar for band 6, like you can use a mix simple and complex structures, but limited flexibility. Make frequently mistake, but like something like that, and you can mark yourself.
Okay. Wow. Okay. You mentioned that the PTE online test is graded with AI, artificial intelligence. So let me ask the teachers here today, would you rather be graded by a person, or would you rather be graded by artificial intelligence? Now, I just looked at the IELTS band descriptors, and I'm not sure that I want a person saying I'm a 7 or I'm a 6 based on if I hesitate, if I don't repeat myself, if I use certain vocabulary or grammar devices or not, because they're people, and if you're with a person, if they're not sympathetic to you, because now I'm being a skeptical American, if they're not sympathetic to you, they're not going to view what you do as maybe what it is worth. Maybe they're going to view it and value it a little bit lower than what it really is. Whereas the AI has a target range of competency it's looking for, and it doesn't judge you as a person. It judges outcomes. It judges all the inputs that you give it. So that's the other side of it. So would you rather have a person or a machine? Because the machines now are quite sophisticated, but on the other hand, you can't negotiate with a machine.
I think for me, I think I would still pick a human.
Why?
I think mostly because the machine is very it is a machine, so it's not really flexible. So it will just based on that. It will only based on the band score like that. Like what you they will just count in what do you do to get band score? You do this band score. But human, from my experience, yes, it's true. It's a risk that some teacher, some examiner will rank you higher and some examiner will rank you lower. But I think that's a risk that you should take, because at the end you speak in English, you learn English to speak with human being and not just to speak with the machine. Personally, I think so. And when the examiner is a human, okay, so maybe the risk is that they rank you lower. But there's also the upside that they will much more appreciate of your some examiner will appreciate you much higher than other teachers. So that's the case that is in your favor. And when you do something like when you kind of do something special, say something special, they will appreciate it more and not the machine. So yeah, I think I would still pick human as an example.
Okay, no, I understand it. So thank you, Fan, for your answer. It's not an easy question to answer, and I don't think it has a definite answer.
Yeah, it don't have the right answer. It depends on how you think, how you want.
Yeah. If you have a sympathetic examiner, that it's to your favor.
And I also think that, for example, like IELTS speaking is kind of much more difficult for a machine, because the IELTS speaking is like you think you think about what you want to say on spot. You only have 1 minute to prepare your speaking, so it will be kind of like difficult for a machine to assess that kind of speaking like that, because it's not prepared enough. It's not, and like I said, the topic of IELTS speaking is like there's a lot of topic to cover. And I don't think that AI can have that much time to learn, because it must input a lot of things into an AI so they can become more sophisticated. And I don't think that the amount of topic that an AI speaking test cover is possible for a machine to learn all of that.
Okay, well, I disagree with you on that, but it's good to have your answer.
Yeah.
Lily, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh yes. So I prefer taking IELTS test with human being too, because when we take the IELTS test with people, so then they sometimes when we don't understand the questions, or the teacher can support us, or maybe they can, based on our facial expressions, they can give us some cues, or support. They can give us support. If this teacher is friendly, or they understand how nervous we are when taking the test, so it's like a good point when taking the test with teacher, not AI. I mean the computer. Yes.
Okay. No, that's a fair answer. The human component is important,
Yes.
and people have a face and they can read faces. Machines don't have a face. So when the machine reads a face, it doesn't have any subjective experience of its own face. Okay, go ahead, G.
Yeah, just I think that when people take the test, and the examiner is a human being. So there are kind of like a funneling set. So there's a human being factor that can like encourage, support, and also so the examinee also have a kind of more feeling. Yes.
Okay.
And maybe I think from another aspect that there should be something as a factor like a spiritual kind of energy, some kind of energy between people, not only just motion.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand that. I'm just taking a skeptic's position, and I'm not assuming that examiners are teachers. Teachers are compassionate and sympathetic people, or if they're not, they're torturing themselves by being teachers. But I don't assume that all examiners are teachers. I've encountered examiners who are not sympathetic to the test taker, and unless you're really prepared with all your material, the examiner seems to be like it's someone who wants to see you not succeed, wants to see you fail. And there are people like that.
Yeah, that's a risk you must take with you.
Yeah. So how much of a risk is that?
Yes.
I don't know. If it's a small risk, then it's tolerable.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah, because
Yes.
actually they have recording, so
okay.
the teacher can't bias anyone because I think not that like they just examiner because maybe they have the cultural and three teachers mark for students because they based on the recording.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Don't worry about that. But sometimes maybe maybe the examiner is the main main marker. The person mark mainly, but they have another one to double check based on the recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as they're not all related to each other, then it seems like they're trying to be fair. So that's good.
Yes.
And there's a check and balance on if someone is not fair. So that's nice to know. Good to know. Thanks, sweetie. Okay, so you say anything else that we want to talk about?
But but I think so maybe normally for us now we more likely to we win like the human being factor that prefer to work with a human being. But I think that maybe in the future we have to accept more on working with machine.
I agree.
Like I yes.
I agree. And I was shocked when I listened to an interview the other day, and the person being interviewed said, in not too long a time, a lot of journalism, a lot of the news stories that you read will be written by machines.
Yeah. AI generated content.
Yeah, because every disadvantage and advantage and disadvantages. Because if you take a PTE, that is there's some disadvantages like depend on the internet, and like I said before, like it's a really noisy room. So even if someone is often nervous, they always nervous, easy. That is hard for them to take the PT test because when you hear other talk, we find it difficult to focus on our test. Yeah, that's right. And sometimes they really good knowledge, but the internet is not good that day, so that it affects the score.
That's an excellent point, Tweet, because presumably we're concerned about students in rural Vietnam. So if they have to rely on a stable and good internet connection to do well on these tests of English, then those are huge problems that we should try to insert ourselves in and try to advocate for these students in rural areas who may not have great internet connections, may not have reliable and fast internet speeds, but at the same time they have the comprehension and the skills to be rated at a much higher level than what they would get with a poor internet connection. So this seems to be something that the House of Wisdom should be monitoring into the future to see how much the reliance on internet capacity and machine testing determines the skill level of English speakers. Because patently, it seems to me on its face, it's unfair to students who are in areas with unreliable internet connections. They may be fantastic English learners, and speakers, and writers, but their internet connections might be unreliable, so they get a very low score.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, now they can't take the test at home. They have test center in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City.
But you know that's coming, right? That's coming. Because if I
it's coming.
If
Sure,
Juan,
for sure.
if Juan owns a sure.
Yeah.
If I own a test taking company, part of my costs are the exam rooms that I have to rent to accommodate all the test takers. But if I can move 90% of the test taking offline to people so that they take it in their house, and I have a way to supervise that they're not cheating, my business is suddenly turned into a huge profit-making business because I cut my costs.
I can ask.
Yeah.
I read somewhere. I think the GED test in US they also can help move that. Some of them allow to take the test online already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean even GED you can take online. So I mean most of this English test you can take online, no problem. So yeah.
Well, yeah, as long as but with the GED and everything, you have to have certain minimum requirements for your machine, for your own computer, for your broadband capacity. You can't have just a really low broadband connection.
I see.
You know, so there are certain requirements that you have to meet. But this is something for House of Wisdom to be aware of in the future, so that you can advocate on the basis of fairness for your rural students. Because where things can be put online and taken out of everyone being put together, they will be, because that's the model. That's just a model of business efficiency. The costs go down. And this is not in the interest of all of our rural students, right? So we need to advocate for that and just watch to see how much it changes.
Oh, I think that is a very interesting point. So maybe we should think about that, and in the future, maybe each House of Wisdom at a certain place could become kind of a spot where people can take the test there.
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting?
Right?
That would be great, because that would cover that problem. Also, it would bring attention and to the House of Wisdom's mission, and you could also have a function where people they don't have to worry about the cost or the expense of coming there to write the test and that. And it would require a lot of coordination, like an engineer possesses. Wink, wink. But that could be done. And if House of Wisdom had its own center, or a few centers around the country that would allow rural students to get to write those tests, I think that would be fantastic. That's a great idea.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful
So, Tuan, okay, you got it?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. They like Queen case because she lives in the rural area, but they follow the three that's group. But you know that it's just around 10,000 parents that maybe they have a condition and good. Maybe the wealthy family or most of them are teachers or yeah. So I mean the house of victims can follow that group, and you can have some parents live in the rural. They don't have condition like like internet or money to buy the books or USB radio, and we can support them to do that and have their children can learn English easily. I think that is really good. They just use USB radio and follow some documentary they post on the groups. Yeah, I think we can do that for other because not many parents know that just 10,000 in compared millions population in Vietnam. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And I think that could be a vision, huh?
Yeah,
I think okay, we help people to access to the learning opportunity, English learning opportunity more easily. So so that as low cost, for example, and then when children can be like a bilingual, like last section we talk about. So they should take the test to be able to join to attend the kind of online program in the world, right? Yes.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's really good. Chi, I would like you to collaborate with anyone you can and write some proposals down so that we can craft those into a focus or a priority for this part of the House of Wisdom's activities, which is the Voluntary English Teachers Association, right? This is where we are in the House of Wisdom, and if you could collaborate with whoever you can and put that together in a structure and a proposal, then that's something that we can all work on and work toward. Because I think it helps to focus our energies toward bringing English resources and the ability to get certification for either academic work or employment. It helps us to bring all those things into a focus so that we can lay those out for children and their families in rural Vietnam and say, look, this is what we offer. This is what we can do for you, you know, and build up interest that way so that there's not just 10,000 anymore. There's, as Julie said for her goal last week, was 1 million. So we can talk about people in the millions and not in the thousands or 10,000s. So that's great. Could you do that? That's a great vision you have, Chi.
But Jan, it seems that today we forgot to record the section.
No, I recorded it.
Ah, okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why my camera was misbehaving, is because sometimes software is like they're neighbors, but they don't like each other, so they don't talk. They don't behave well. So you have to trick one to let the other one take precedence. So I figured it out eventually.
Okay.
Yes, it's like it takes two functions at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And I want them to talk to each other, and they're not talking, and so I have to trick them. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yes.
So, any questions from anybody before we wrap things up? Any questions? Wine, do you have any questions? Thank you for coming today, by the way.
So, before joining this meeting, I have some question about how to do the IELTS test and some technique and then meet fun, fun bro. As he shared something like, I feel it is so helpful, and thank to him and thank you all of you today.
Okay, Fan. Maybe you can reach out to Wine and give her some more coaching if you have time.
If you need some coaching, you can text me or something. I will schedule you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Chi, can you coordinate that, Chi, so that Fan and Wine can exchange contact information?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, they know each other already. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. He has been my teacher in one class. Yeah. In one lesson.
Okay.
Okay, and also you are welcome to join our section, Wine, so that you can practice the more on listening and speaking. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take your opportunity. Okay. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming, Wine.
Yeah.
Any questions from anyone else? How's things, team? Tin? Everything okay? And Hui? Okay. And Hui?
Okay. Okay. So maybe that's already 11 p.m. Okay. Yeah. So I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that's all for today. Yeah. Thank you for the. Always, I think the conversation always comes to something very interesting. Yeah. And I think it's helpful for people. Yeah. And thank you, Jan, very much.
Thanks.
And by each section, we, I think that we become more clearly on the identify on seeing our vision and for the house of wisdom and I think so. Okay.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
We had a lot of clarity today, and I look forward to reading when you can get your proposal together, Chi. I look forward to reading it. That'll be a great step up for us. So I'm going to work on the time points for the recording, but I'm going to post a link. I'm going to put it up online today, and I'm going to post a link for it in the Messenger group so people can look at it. It'll just be raw, and then when I can do a version that has the timestamps and what the different topics are, depending on the time, then you can just go to the time. But we had another great session today. Thanks everyone for showing up, and thanks for contributing. And I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see everyone next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.